Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Paperless Office. I will be your host. My name is Joe Massa. I am the department coordinator for Communications Design Pathways Department in the School of Art and Design. First, a little bit about me. I came to FIT in June of 2015 as department coordinator for photography. I am a self-described technology geek. I've been working with computers, building computers, and programming computers since the 1980s. I'm also an accomplished landscape photographer, an avid cook and baker, an accomplished quilter, which raises a few eyebrows. And most recently, I've gotten into jam making and preserves. So that's a little bit about me. Let's jump right in here. This presentation is going to show FIT employees some simple tools that are accessible to all employees here at the college on how we can um, reduce some of our paper processes, paper consumption, and as a bonus, work more efficiently. So first, let's take a little trip. Now, some of you might see this and know where we're going, but maybe, yeah, this would help. We're going to take a trip back in time. And no, we're not going to back to 2020, March of 2020. That was a terrible time, and none of us want to go back to that. So let's go back to December 20th, 2019. That was a good time. It was the end of the fall semester. We were getting ready for the holidays. And we left campus really not knowing what was going to happen. But we left our offices like this, some like this. I know I felt like this a lot of times. Past a few offices that look like this, mostly adjunct offices. Sorry, adjuncts. This guy seems perfectly happy amid the chaos and deluge of paper. But like a lot of us, certainly when I started at FIT, felt really overwhelmed by the amount of paper that was produced, amount of forms, some form. I hadn't seen carbon copy forms and multi-part forms in a long time. And the woman I replaced, the office I took over, she had been there for, I think she retired after 35 years or so. And I swear everything that was printed, every email, uh, was stored in this really tiny office in binders and folders, and it was really overwhelming. So it would be really nice if we could just push a button and immediately turn to this paperless office. That was the dream, right? That was what we were promised. Something like this. No paper on the desk. I don't know about you, but I personally wouldn't know how to work in an office in a desk like this. So the paperless office is this 30-year pipe dream. According to Greg Milken, VP of Marketing at M Files Corporation. This was from an article from Wired magazine in 2014. Um, and it basically sums up what we all know to be true, that technology that promised us this paperless office has actually increased our paper uh, consumption, and the most organizations um, going paperless is just not going to happen. And this was actually my desk pre-COVID. As you can see, it's not paperless. There's still folders and files. But essentially, the focus is the computer, the scanner, everything that I need to do, all my documents, all the data, everything that I need is on the computer, and only certain things, really those things that are absolutely critical that I need either a wet signature, um, get printed out. Most everything resides in the computer. So pre-pandemic, how much paper do we actually use? And I actually hit the internet and started to search on just how much paper um, we use. And some of the numbers I found were just staggering. 1 billion photocopies are made each day, according to Forrester Research. And not only do we use a lot of paper, um, it just keeps growing, and the average company grows their paper consumption by 25%. And over 4 trillion paper documents in the US alone. And that number is growing about 22%, or roughly 880 billion paper documents a year. It's just an enormous amount of paper. This was a really fun graphic I found. Um, 65 billion 395,000 sheets of paper are used each day. And it shows some interesting equivalents. And while you're watching this, you might want to pause this a little and pause this for a moment and actually take a look and see what that equivalents in terms of money, volume, and the amount of trees. It was truly staggering. So what can you do? There's pre-COVID. There was two basic questions that I asked, and a lot of you, after working 3 semesters at home, asked yourself certainly the first question, like, do I need to print this? I'm now in my home using my home printer, my home ink. Can I even get paper? Is paper one of those products people are hoarding? Amazon deliveries are running 3 to 4 weeks before I get them. Do I really need to print this? And the other question is like, once you print it, do I need to save things? And the truth of the matter is that a staggering percentage of documents are discarded the day they're printed. And, I have been guilty of this myself. It's very easy to hit that print button. Then something happens, you print it out. Oh, I didn't select the right range on my Excel sheet. And everything is in 2-point font. Okay, discard that. Let's print it again. I mean, how many times have we printed something multiple times until we got what we really wanted? Now multiply this by millions of people, and the amount of paper that we just print and throw away is astonishing. Be interesting to see exactly how much paper we used pre-COVID and a semester after we come back. That could be interesting. So these two questions are basically the first things you do is, do I need to print this? Can this reside on the computer? And do I need to save this? So while a paperless office is a pipe dream, what we can strive for is a paperless office. And I'm going to show you some 3 simple tools that I use that greatly reduce, I would say probably 75, 80, even I would go so far as to say 90% of my paper consumption. And that's greater now after spending 3 semesters working from home and realize I don't really need to print all this stuff. So let's jump right in. electronic forms. And some people you've heard might say, well, we are paperless because our forms are all PDF and they're all electronic. Well, working in a paperless workflow, having a paperless form workflow is more than just simply converting your forms into a PDF. It doesn't solve the problem. If you're still hunting around for forms on your computer drive for a file you need, a lot of times that's more frustrating than looking for a piece of paper that you filed. Because you have issues like, what did I name that file? Did I put a space between spring and 2020, or was there no space? Did I use SP20? And what the heck is 2020-03? What does that even mean? Um, the more users you have saving these files just compounds the problem. Because what I think something might be named might not be what someone else names. If you've ever tried to get all of those coordinators will understand what I mean. If you've ever tried to get all of your faculty to name their syllabus in a convention, there's always a few that just don't, name it whatever they want. Um, and filling out a form in a PDF in Adobe Acrobat is also not always easy. A lot of times it's more frustrating than writing it out by paper. Um, if that form hasn't been properly set up in PDF to be filled out online, you can spend your time, hunting around for the right tools in Acrobat to fill out that PDF form. Um, and I'm sure you could all um, agree with me here that using email to manage any kind of large amount of documents is a nightmare. I know the coordinator in our dean's office, every time she would have to manage all of the reappointment forms during COVID that we would send in. Stuff gets lost in email. And if you miss a document in an email and it goes a few days, it could be buried under hundreds, if not even thousands, of emails. So, what do I do? There are three tools that I use to get to a paperless office. First is Google Forms. That's where a lot of the data entry happens. Um, and then there's the Adobe Sign, which is I use for forms that actually need a signature by my faculty, or that has to go through multiple layers of signature. I use Adobe Sign for that. And then there's the Google Intranet, Google Sites, because that solves the problem of where do all of these electronic forms live in a way that's easy for the people that need to get them access to them. So some of these tools, depending on the form, will only use one of these tools or two of these tools. Some forms use a combination of two or all three of these tools. And I'll walk you through how I use each one of these tools to not only reduce my paper consumption, but automate processes and reduce my workload, especially when it comes to those tedious tasks that always seem to come up when you're doing something else. All right, so Google Forms. I think everyone here at the college now knows or has used a Google form and knows what a Google form is. So some of the things that are, the key bullet points on why the benefits of using a system like Google Forms. First off, they're online, they're always accessible, and you don't have to hunt for that paper form. And if you've ever experienced, looking for a field trip form or a locker form, You had to make sure that you had enough at the start of the semester, or you filled out the a print request and got 100 or 200 copies of this paper form just so they were there when you need it. So the forms are always available, and I know exactly where they are. Simplified and controlled responses. If you've ever gotten a form from someone else to fill out, and they always miss certain information, and depending on what wasn't filled out, you can't route it or file it until they have to come back and fill out the form properly. If it's an adjunct, they're only here on campus once or twice a week. Sometimes they teach at night, so you never actually see them. Anyway, you know what I mean. Automatic document generation. Now, Google Forms in and of itself won't do this, but I use a plugin that once a form is submitted, it takes that data from a form, merges it with a template. It assigns a file name that I've predetermined, and that file name could also use data from the form. So if they select the class and the faculty's name, you could put that into the file name to make it easier to find. Those files then are generated in a predetermined location on Google Drive. So I know exactly where all of those particular documents are going to be stored. Um, Another thing that the plugin does for me is it allows me to automatically send that form, that generated form, via email to people who need it. So, for example, on a field trip form, the faculty member fills it out on Google Form. Once they hit submit, I get a copy, my office staff gets a copy, so they can print it out and put it on the classroom door. The chairperson gets a copy because the chairperson wants to know who's on a field trip. The dean's office gets a copy because the dean's office needs to know where all of our students and faculty are at a particular time. In the event of an emergency, they know that these particular students are not on campus. Um, and it's basically the same process that we use when we were using a paper form. So, but instead of me taking that electronic form and emailing it every time it's filled out, the plugin does that automatically. So once a faculty fills out a form, hits submit, all these things happen automatically. And then lastly, this is not part of the plugin, but all Google Forms maintain a history in a spreadsheet form of all the submissions that have been filled out for that form. So for say a field trip, for some reason you wanted to see faculty member John Doe took his class 3 semesters ago, that's in a log, and you could easily see all the information from that form submission in an easy to find spreadsheet. So another benefit, files are easily searched and retrieved. No matter how many they are, the individual PDF files and Google Doc files that are generated from this process, because I name the files accordingly, I can easily search what they are. Now, since I'm not typing in the file name, I don't have to worry about how long they are. They could be as long as I need them to be able to easily find them. Since they're not going to be printed or anything, it doesn't matter how complex the file name is because no one's going to sit there and type it out once it's set. And it'll be the same for every single form that's generated. So most of my forms will have my file names will have the semester in the file. It'll have the faculty member's name or a name that's filling it out. It'll have a course in the case of a field trip form. It'll have the date, the course, and section that they're teaching. Midterm warnings that are also generated through a Google form. We'll have the student's name in there as well. So by looking at the file name, I can see that this is Joe Massa's midterm warning for Steve Schwartz from class CD 122 and the date that it was issued. So I have that all in the file name. So when I'm looking for a particular one in Google Drive, it's very easy to find the one I'm looking at. Of course, no paper. And then since it's a Google form, that Google form can reside on your department's intranet site, which is one of the other tools that I will show you. Okay, so let me show you some of the um, how the forms work and the emails and the documents that are generated. Okay, so my forms, I organize my documents in a particular way on my Google Drive. Now, this can be done in a folder on your own Google Drive, or it could be in a shared drive. It doesn't matter. But I usually keep my forms in something like this. I keep the online forms in one folder, in a root folder. And then within that, I have a folder where the actual Google form file resides. I have the form responses in a separate folder. And then I have these templates. And basically what the template is, it's a Google Doc version of the form. And that's used by the plugin to merge the form data that a user enters with the template to create a new document. It's basically a mail merge. If you're familiar with a mail merge in Microsoft Word, this is very similar. So first, let's take a look at the forms. And you'll see a I have two forms in here. I have a peer evaluation of classroom faculty. And if any of you are working in an academic department, you know that adjunct faculty or full-time faculty, depending on their TMP status, need to be evaluated by their peers for a class that they're teaching. So every department has some version of a peer evaluation form, and it has some basic information, which I'll go through and show you. Um, and then the other one that a lot of academic departments will have will be a field trip form. So first, let's take a look at the field trip form. This is pretty simple, and I will show you the live form. So it's automatically going to pull my FIT account. I would enter the faculty name here, the date and time of the field trip, whether or not you were returning to class, if it's a 6-hour class or a 5-hour class, maybe you're only going to be off campus for 2 hours or an hour. You would indicate whether or not you were returning. If you are returning, you would put the time that you were returning, your course and section number here, your room numbers here, and you'll notice if you've worked with Google Forms before, if you're new to that, anything with an asterisk is a required field, and you cannot submit the form unless those fields are entered. The room number, and this is really for the administrative staff who's actually going to print out this form and post the notice on the door. Having the room number here just helps them so they don't have to go to a schedule, look for the room that the class is in. It's there, it's on the form. They can print it out, put it right on the door. Faculty contact phone number. This is typically the cell phone for the faculty that are going to be with the students. Again, in the event of an emergency, the dean's office or the department has the faculty's phone number. Then, of course, the location and then any information. And once they hit submit, a couple of things happen. Once this is submitted, the form submission gets logged in the spreadsheet that's linked to the form. So here's the responses. This is this form only has one response. It was done on October 16th. This is the email address for the faculty name, and everything here. And I'll show you one that has a little more information because it'll make it put it in a little more context. Okay, so that form submission then goes, that's when the plugin takes over, and it goes to the template. And here's the field trip form template. It takes the data from the form and merges it into this template. And you'll see these characters here, these fields here, these are placeholders. These are tags. And the names of these tags here in brackets relates back to questions on the form. So when a faculty member fills out the form, it takes that data from the form, looks for this template, and then merges the data wherever this question is, course number and section. The answer to that question gets put in here. And this goes down through, and you'll see these are the questions that were on the form. So then it takes that template and that form data, and it puts it in this form. So this is the field trip form filled out by Ann Kong for DE 216-104 on 11/6 at 1500. This is when her form, and if I open this, it fills out this form. This is what Ann Kong filled out when she submitted that form. This was generated automatically, and it also generates a PDF. This was done automatically with no interaction on my part. So, okay, back to that. So I will show you, here's my online forms. This is the forms that I have for communication design pathways. And if I click on the forms, you'll see here, I have a lot of forms. And I use them for just about everything that I can. I use them for course selection. I use it for peer evaluations, midterm warnings, if we had guest lecturers, field trips. I also use it for student locker requests, faculty extra hours, faculty absences. These all get filled through a Google form. And each one of these forms, if I go into form responses, say field trip forms, here are all of the field trip forms. Now, field trip forms didn't have the semester in it, but I could look at the date last modified. This is when the document was generated. And if I go into the form and I look at the field trip form, which is here, I will see that this has 46 responses, and this was updated about fall of 2019. And if I click on here and go to the spreadsheet, I can see all 46 field trips requests that were submitted without having to look at individual folders. So I can sort this as I would any other Google spreadsheet and search for a particular faculty member, a particular course, and see what was going on. Okay, so another form that I use quite frequently that comes in very handy is the peer observation form. So I am going to show you the peer observation form. So this is a form that our faculty would fill out when they're observing one of the adjunct or one of their peers. So drop down box for the semester, the program, and this is specific to my department. And as I said, each department might have a slightly different version of this form. The name of the observer, so we'll enter that here. It's me, Joe Massa, course number CD 101, course name, this is a test, and the name of the instructor zone, John Doe, date of the observation, number, and type of class. This is whether it's a lecture, demo. Go to the next page, clarity of presentation, and then we would just check off clarity of all the four, excellent, very good, command of the classroom, excellent, good, satisfactory, unsatisfactory, terrible, horrible, and we click next. And then there's the overall. We'll give them a good. And this, this. And now this is a paragraph field. It can be as long or as short as we want. And I'll show you some of the examples there. Sometimes I get paragraphs and paragraphs in this field. Then I'm going to hit submit. And it's to say thank you for your submission. And this is all things that I've controlled and I've put in. Most people don't read this. It tells you exactly what's going to happen now that you've hit submit. Now, if I go back to my email here, and you'll see here that I have an email here with a new peer observation report is attached. Now, you saw I didn't do anything. All I did was fill out the form. And here it is. And you'll see it's coming to me and to Craig Berger, who's my chair. If this was another report, if I click here, here's another one. This is one that this faculty member filled out. So the email goes to him, me, and to the chair. And if I click on here, here is the form. So it has the information here that this is the template that I set up based on a paper form. And I control all of this information. This all comes from the field, the form information that was submitted. Here's that paragraph of text, and this can be as big as one. It'll just expand if needed. And then on the second page, there's always a page break between here. And the second page is where the signatures will go. Now, this is one of those things where it's working in conjunction with Adobe Sign, because this is a document that needs to be signed. So I will show you shortly how this document, this PDF document, goes into an electronic signature workflow. But for now, the file is here. It is named accordingly. It's named Spring, you could say Spring 2021 Peer Observation Report, John Doe, that's the faculty member being observed, by Joe Massa, me. This is the class, CD 101-101. So within the file name, because remember, I'm going to have dozens of these each semester. I have a not the biggest department in the college, but we're certainly up in the top five. Um, each semester, I have anywhere from 35 to 40 faculty that need to be reappointed. So there's a lot of observation reports that I get. So when they're listed in a listing on my Google Drive, I can see exactly. I could easily find the one that I'm looking for. Now, if I go onto Google Drive, this particular, so here's the peer observation. Oh, we can close this. So here's the form. Here's the responses. And if I click on the spreadsheet, I go all the way down to the bottom. There's mine. There's the timestamp, my email address, and all the information is stored there. So again, I have 87 peer observations that were done on this report since uh, March of 2020, and I could easily find one if I need it. Close these. So there's my forms, my templates, and the form responses, and um, the temp plugin for the Google Drive, which I'll show you uh, in the live demo on Wednesday. Which plugin, how you set up the plugin. Um, it's a free plugin. It's called Form Director. There's a free plan, and then depending on the volume of documents per month that you need to generate, they have a charge. I think I pay 600. I pay $6 a month for um, up to 300 or 50, 300 or 500 documents in a month's time. So that's across all of my forms, and that's more than enough. I've never gone over or needed to increase the quota. So it's a small fee, but the benefits are tremendous. Okay, so now the next problem is now that you've got all these Google Forms like this, I'm in a similar problem. I have a lot of different files, and it's getting better, but it's still not there. It's still not ideal. It's still not autonomous, because if I share this with faculty, you all know that people are going to keep emailing me for, I need this form. Can you send me the link for this form again? There needs to be a better way where these forms will live in a way that all of my faculty can access them, or anyone who needs them can access them without emailing me. So that brings me to the next part, the Google intranet. So if you're familiar with Google Sites, a lot of this you know already. But Google Sites is something that's part of our Google Suite. We all have access to it. And it's a very easy website builder. It basically allows you to build a website. Now, I call it an intranet because this is not public facing. Um, the site is closed to not only FIT employees or FIT email addresses, but I could further restrict it to just the people that I want in my department to have this. So it's closed site, controlled access, specific individuals, FIT account required, and it's an online repository for various informations. And I'll show you my site, and you'll see the amount of information I put on this site, so that faculty are and all the people in the department are aware of it. They know where to look for certain information. And the goal is so that to give people the tools and the information they need so they're not constantly coming to me. So I'm not interrupted in the middle of my day for someone who needs the schedule or who's someone who can't find something that should be readily available. So on my site, I have the dean's office contact list. I have the dean's office calendar. So there it links to their Google Calendar. I have a section on my site for new faculty onboarding. So those faculty who are, it's their first semester on campus, there's a wealth of information that they have available to them so they can see what's available on campus or where to go for certain things. We also have our policies, various different department policies that everyone has access to. And then this is where all of my Google Forms and my interactive forms live. So if a faculty member needs to do a field trip, they know to look on the internet site. If they're looking for the department schedule for the fall, for the upcoming semester, they know where to look. If they need to fill in their extra hours, they know where to go. They go to the internet site. And, when I started with this, every people would ask me, where's this? I said, it's on the internet. It's on the internet. It's on our site. It's on the portal. It's on the portal. So after a while, they get conditioned like, okay, maybe I should bookmark this. Um, Also, for me, there's no more search, by putting our calendar, there's no more searching for important dates, deadlines, certification rosters. We've all just gone through keeping track of everyone on their certification rosters. Or if there's like, well, I know the dean's office sent an email around when they want their reappointment forms, but I don't remember when I got the email or where I got it. I go to my site, I pull up the dean's office Google Calendar, and the information is right there. It also allows me to link to any other information, and I can put any information that I want on there. If there's some kind of industry news or industry posts, that can go on there. Making updates to the site is very easy. There's no coding knowledge required, no programming. It's a simple, easy to use interface that most people who are fairly familiar with using the Google environment can easily make updates to the site. And the site can have multiple editors. So more than one person can be tasked with updating the site. Okay, so let me show you now my site. So this is the homepage for Communication Design Pathways. Um, and you have a sidebar here, which gives you quick links to the popular pages. And then as you scroll down, there's links to various different information. You have calendars, new faculty onboarding. And I like to have fun with this stuff. I try to make it interesting and fun for the faculty and the people that are going to be using it. Um, but this is I mean, you can make this however way you want. There are various templates for laying out the information. This site matches my sense of humor and my personality. So for example, let's look here. If I go to calendars, click on calendars, I have links here to our meeting minutes. And then here is our department calendar link. And here is the Art and Design Dean's calendar link with information. Like I see on October 18th, reappointment forms are due in the Dean's office. And then there's the FIT academic calendar, which we have to update. Um, and then we can click here, and that brings us to our department minutes, and we have links here. This is a window to our Google Drive, to a shared Google Drive where all this stuff lives. And then we have some various static information here. And we click on here, we go back home. So now let's go to forms, and we can access it by going here, online forms, or clicking on the sidebar forms. And here we have our peer evaluation form, our field trip form, midterm warnings, faculty extra hours, faculty absence reporting, accomplishments form, there's visitor registration, and various curriculum forms. So everything is there on the site, and it's easy for faculty or anyone to find the form that they want. And each form has a slight description on what the form is used for. But basically, you just click this link, it opens in a new window the form, you fill it out, hit submit, and everything happens. And the nice thing is, I don't have to really get involved in any of this. It runs on its own, and once it's set up, and faculty and people are conditioned to look here for information, it makes my job easier and more efficient. And we'll just click through some of the things here. We have our committee information. We have course-related information, course coordination, syllabi, links to syllabi, uh, information on creating accessible content. We have faculty pages, which has new faculty onboarding, faculty achievements, office hours and compensation, policies, procedures, all these information that faculty will find useful. Here's some FIT resources, links to the collective bargaining agreement, Fittable, college policies, FIT libraries and databases, human resources. Here's our forms. We have health and safety information. We have our program and curriculum information. When we went remote, we opened up some pages for remote teaching tools that we got, because we were getting a lot of emails from, if you remember, we were getting a lot of emails um, from IT and everyone. So rather than me constantly forwarding and barraging people with more email and further complicating the problem, we put everything on this page, and so it's accessible to everyone. Schedules is a big thing, people. So we have links here. This is links, direct links to Google Spreadsheets. And if I just mouse over to this window, I can scroll up and down. I can scroll right and left in on my schedule. And then if I click this window here, it'll open it up into a new tab, and I can move whatever changes and make whatever changes I want. And I have the current schedule, I have last spring, and then I have the archive here. So I can go back to in time, as time goes on, more and more schedules gets stored here. TMP, I have my observation schedule for all the faculty that need observing. There's a link here to the form, and I've also created a link here for the blank form that will allow, they could print this out and use it while they're doing the observation, so they know exactly what they're supposed to look for and how they grade on it. And then miscellaneous is everything else. People would ask me a lot about payroll information, how are adjuncts paid, which is confusing. So I've put here the schedule and then a little information about how adjuncts are paid. So that is how I use Google Sites not only as a repository um, for my online form, my electronic forms that I've created, but I realized this is also a valuable resource for everyone in the department for more than just a form. And it's a tool that informs people in the department and again prevents that repetitive questions and when you have 75, 80 faculty that all need access to the same information, this is an excellent tool. Okay, so now the third tool, and um, probably the one that is very helpful, and certainly in when we went into lockdown with COVID, uh, this was very helpful in allowing me to get everything done that we had to in a remote environment as easily and efficiently, if not more so, than when we were in person. And if you've ever tried to hunt down people for a wet signature, you know what kind of a nightmare that could be, especially with people who aren't on campus every day. Um, Sometimes 2 or 3 weeks can go by without getting a signature. And if you went into, when we went remote and getting faculty to sign electronically wasn't always an easy task for everyone. Certainly, those faculty who are, and those people who are adept with Photoshop or with Adobe that can, have their electronic signature very handy, can easily drop it into a document, fine. But I can't tell you how many emails I got I used to get, I didn't get this time, but I used to get emails from people who had printed out the form, signed it, then took a photo with their uh, cell phone and emailed me a JPEG of the phone. So Adobe Sign was a huge help for me. So if you pre-pandemic, a lot of people might not have heard or been familiar with Adobe Sign. Certainly after 3 semesters of working remotely, pretty much everyone knows that Adobe Sign exists and what it is. Um, for those of you who don't, it's a cloud-based document management system, and that basically just means that all your documents that you submit and manage for electronic signature reside on in the cloud. So it's accessible from any internet connected computer device. It's secure. You could easily send and receive electronic documents to multiple people. You can establish workflow. So if this person has to sign, then these 3 people have to sign in any order. And then once they all sign, it goes to this fourth person. You could build those workflows into the system so um, that you're not constantly setting that up and typing that in each time. Because again, an electronic system, a paperless system, only works if it's uh, efficient. So if you're doing repetitive work on the computer, it's just as bad as you're doing it on the in paper. So, for example, a reappointment form needs to be signed by the candidate, and then up to 5 members of your T&P committee have to sign in any order. And then once they all sign, it goes to the dean's office. So you can build that workflow into Adobe Sign so that when you submit a form for signature, the only thing that's going to change is the candidate. So the candidate is a variable. You type in the candidate for that particular form, and then everything else, who it goes to, that stuff is all programmed in. And I'll show you what I mean. Um, So you can, again, this just basically rehashes what I said. You know, quickly and easily send documents for electronic signature. You can turn forms into web forms. So you can take a form, you'll get a unique URL, which you could then post onto your Google intranet site and have people access it and sign it, and all the routing and everything is built in. It's one place you manage all your electronic documents. That gets sent through the system. You could also set reminders. This is a big thing for me when I'm sending my tentative teaching assignments. Um, I have certain people that need to be reminded. So I could set up a reminder. I have one person who gets a reminder every day in his inbox until he signs the document. All documents are stored in the cloud. You can share documents with a group. So if you have 6 or 7 people in your office that are using a document, they could all use the same document. And that's beneficial when there's a change to a form. You don't have an instance where one person is using an outdated form and the other 3 are using an older form. I remember at one point when we were dealing with paper forms, I found 3 or 4 different versions of the same form. And I would send documents to various parts of the college and I would get an email back. You're using an old form. And I'm like, okay, well, I didn't know it was an old form. So that takes care of that thing. Um, Users can create their own forms. It's relatively simple process to do. So you're not restricted to forms that other people have created. And sign documents, the biggest thing, and a lot of times I get, from, like, well, is it safe? And it's, signed documents are very secure. You can track and see exactly when a person viewed the document, signed the document. You can go so far as to know what IP address the device they use to sign is on. And once a document is signed, it has a level of encryption that it cannot be edited. So even a savvy user, above average computer user, takes an electronic document that's been signed, and it's not so easy to edit or make changes to that document. Of course, it's not 100% secure, but it's better than most documents. Now, there are a couple of things when you're using Adobe Sign to know. It was created for signing documents, contracts, and agreements. So some of the processes and the naming conventions that are used within the platform might seem a little odd. In some instances, you have to send a document twice. The first screen, and I'll show you this, establishes uh, the recipients, the messaging, and the actual PDF file that you're going to send for signature. And then if it's a form that requires some filling out beforehand, it'll open up another screen after you hit send. You fill out the form, and then you have to hit send again. So it's a little quirky in some respects, but once you get familiar with it, it's pretty easy. All the forms are called agreements, and that's just part of the system. There's no way to change that. But even though you're sending a form, it's going to call it an agreement. And then once all the signatures have been collected, you'll get an email, and again, you'll see this in a few minutes. But the title of the email, the heading of the email, will say something like Joe Massa Fall 2019 Reappointment Form. between Fashion Institute of Technology and Joe Massa was signed and filed. This is part of um, the system, and it cannot be changed or modified um, on any kind of regular basis. It was set when FIT signed the contract with Adobe, and it can't be changed. But it's not a big deal. It's not a problem. It's just when you're first starting out, it looks a little weird. Okay, so let's jump in to Adobe Sign. Okay, so when you log on to Adobe Sign, it's going to ask you, you'll enter your FIT email address, hit continue, and you'll select company or school account, and that will bring you to the FIT login. You'll sign in, and it will bring you to the Adobe dashboard. So this is the Adobe Sign dashboard. As it is today, it's slightly different than it was 6 months ago, and it may be different in 6 months from now. But the functionality is the same. So at the top screen, you have some options here, which I won't go into. But for now, let's send the form that we've already created in for electronic signatures, and we'll send them we'll use the peer observation form that we were talking about before. So we're going to click up here, we're going to click send. And here is where I'm going to enter the recipients. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to pull up my PDF file that was generated automatically. Now you can't see this, but I have a window open on my other screen here. So just bear with me a second. Here we go. Okay, so I am going to drag this into Adobe. Now you can enter it other ways. You can click the add files, and this window will pop up, and you can go to my computer and find it that way. But I find it's easier to just open up an Explorer window and drag it right into here. And it comes in, and this is the agreement name now. Spring 2022 Peer Observation Report, John Doe by Joe Massa. Now, if I click here, message template, I can set up different message templates here. I have one for peer observation report, which tells you, just gives the user some information about what they're signing. Now, I know a peer observation report requires 3 signatures. It's the person observing the faculty member being observed, and the chairperson. That's the routing. So the first email address I'm going to put is the faculty member being observed. The faculty member who's doing the observation, sorry. So I'm going to put my personal email address in here. Then the next thing is going to be the faculty member. So I'm going to put my other email address here. So this signer 1 here is the faculty member who's doing the observation. Signer number 2 here is the faculty member being observed. And signer 3 here is the chairperson. My FIT email address there. Now, these here, you can change the roles: signer, approver, acceptor, form filler. I'm not going to get into that now. For now, these are all signers. Now, they're in that order, 1, 2, 3, for a specific reason, which I'll show you on the next page. So I'm going to set a reminder here. And I'm going to set a reminder every day, every week, every business day, other day. You have options here. But I know these people on this list are particularly bad at following up. So we're going to do it set a reminder every day. Now, because we have to do some things with this form, because remember, this was generated um, by Google Forms. It doesn't have fields. The form has been filled out, but the signature fields are not there. So we have to tell Adobe where these people are going to sign. So we're going to put preview and add signature fields. And then we're going to click next. And then Adobe is going to load the form. And you'll see that in a minute. And this, depending on your computer and your internet connection, the size of the file could take longer. Could take, determine the time. So we have here's the form that was generated by our form submission. And then here is where the signatures are going to go. Now I can, on this side, on the right-hand side here, I have my recipients. So I have signer 1, signer 2, and signer 3. And me, I'm here in pre-fill, but this form is not going to have any. It's already been filled out by Google Forms, so we don't have to fill it out. In the live demo, I'll go into more details about this. But for now, I'm gonna put signer 1 here is Joe Massa. He's the person who observed. And we're going to put a signature block. We're just going to click on here. Here's the fields. We're going to click on signature block, and we're going to drop that into the observer. And then sign info here. Here's the date. Now this is going to be entered automatically based on the date that this person signed. And then we can go to the next person. This is the faculty member. And you see now how these fields get grayed out because we're not on that person. So now we go back to signature fields. We drop in the block, and now they're highlighted. We go back to date. Now the observee, this is the person being observed. They also have the ability to make comments. So we're going to go into data fields, click on text input, and we're going to drag a text input box here. And Adobe sees that there's a bounding box and expands the field. So we have that. And there are more options for these fields. And now we have the chairperson. And we're going to take a signature block. I'm going to drop that there. And we're going to go to date. And we're going to drop that there. So now what this is going to do is when this document goes to this person, they're going to sign these two fields. They're going to sign here, and then this date's going to come in automatically. And they're not going to be able to affect anything else on the form because these are the only two areas of the form that are assigned to them. Then when they sign, it's going to go to this person. They're going to sign here, date here, and then they'll have access to this. And then once they sign, it goes to the chairperson, which is here, and he just signs there. Once all that is done, I'll get an email and no. Now, in each of these steps, when this person signs, I get an email. When this person signs, I get an email. When this person signs, I get an email, and then everyone who's involved gets an email that says it's been signed and filed, and then the PDF is a certified PDF file that then can't be edited. And I'll show you that in a minute. Now, I know what you're thinking yourself. This is not easy. I have to keep dragging all these things in every form. It's better. But Joe, you promised me this was going to be easy. Okay, so what I've done and what Adobe allows you to do is it allows you to create, I'm going to delete these. And what Adobe allows you to do is to create a field template. And what a field template, you're all familiar, everyone should be familiar with what a form template is. And that's basically a blank version of the form. What a field template is basically just a template of the data fields that get filled in. And it's their location and placement on a document. So since I've set that up already for this form, and I've set it up for all my forms, all I have to do is open this form, and I go up here in the upper left-hand side to Field Templates. And I click on Field Templates, and you'll see a bunch of things here. These are shared with the group. And then this here is just my templates. And you'll see I have this one here that says Peer Observation Signatures. Now, on this particular document, the signatures go on the second page. But I'm going to make sure that since there's only two pages, that I'm starting on page one. And once I click apply, watch what happens. Nothing here because there's nothing on here. But when I go down, the fields are already there. So the observer, the observee, and the chairperson. Their signatures have all those fields have all been set up previously by me and saved in a template. And that's, signer one, signer two, signer three. That's all been set up and programmed in the template. So when I bring a document in, all I have to do is go up here, go to field templates, and apply that field template, and all those fields would come in. Once that's done, then I just click send. And I will show you in my demonstration on Wednesday how to set that up, how to create both a form template and a field template. And then I just click send, and then an email goes out. So let me show you what happens after that. Click send, and then you'll get a message that here's the document has been successfully sent for signature. And at this point, I can click on send and start another one. But if I click on manage, this is going to show me everything that I have out for signature. So by looking here, I can see that all these documents are still in progress. So they've been sent to various people for signature. And I can click on any of these and manage them. I could send a reminder if they haven't already. I can cancel it. I could replace someone. I have a lot of options to manage these documents. So these are the ones that are in progress. If there were any documents waiting for me to sign, they would be listed here. But there's nothing waiting for me to sign. If I click on completed, here's my completed document. And I see these are the three here from this semester, peer observations, that have been completed. Now I'll get an email with the secured PDF. But I also have, if anyone has filled out release time requests are done through Adobe Sign. You may not have realized it, but it was a Adobe Sign web form that was generated with the URL. And I have in here also my tentative teaching assignments from that I sent last semester for the current semester. So I have a lot of managers, anything that's been canceled, expires if I set a date. And then here's all my templates, any web forms, which I have, which I don't have here. And then there was bulk sending, but I'm not going to get into any of that. But what you can see here very quickly with this demo is there's a lot of tools to manage your electronic forms. Imagine if you had to hunt your email from something that was submitted Let's see, go down. You see, it keeps going. Fall 2019. Uh, Imagine if I had to search my email for this document. But here I could also use search and filters, and within a few minutes, if even that long, I could find any document from any period of time that was signed electronically through the system. So it's a very powerful tool for managing electronic documents. So now you see here, I'll get a email that Adobe Sign Spring 2022 has been sent for signatures there. So this is the email you get when you send the document, and each time someone signs this document, you'll get another email similar to this telling you what's happened. And at any point, you could go back into Adobe Sign, into the dashboard, and see where a document's at. You could see when someone opened the document, when someone signed a document. You have full control over your documents. Now, what happens on the signer's end when they get this email? So I'm the next couple of screens. I'm going to show you screenshots from my phone um, on what. Say you're sending the example I think I use here is a tentative teaching assignment. So this is an email that I received on my phone. I send a tentative teaching assignment to my faculty to be signed electronically. Um, and the nice thing about this is it doesn't require a computer. It doesn't require an Adobe account. You can do it on your phone, sign with your finger. It's a very simple and easy to use tool for those people who are signing. So, with a wide range of technical abilities, all of your faculty should be able to sign these documents electronically. So in the email, you'll see a couple of things. You'll see who sent. So this is, they'll get Joseph Massa has sent you a tentative teaching assignment to sign. And here's the blurb that I put in for tentative teaching assignment. There's a link there that they can click, and that will open them in the Adobe environment. So this is the email. It gives them a lot of information. All they have to do is click there. When they click that link, this is what happens. They'll be brought to this screen, and the fields that they have to fill out will be highlighted in yellow. And that faculty member can edit various things. And this is a slightly old screenshot from a couple of years ago when ID numbers uh, used to be on the tentative teaching forms. They're no longer there. So the faculty will fill out this form. They'll click start, and it will bring them to each of the forms that they have to fill out, each of the fields that they have to fill out. And again, within the Adobe environment, you can set up um, forms that are fields that are required. So it won't allow you to sign the document until you've completed all the required forms. And there's a lot of programming and logic that can be built in. For example, if they decline the assignment, then these fields don't get filled in. If these fields only are required if they accept the agreement, because obviously if they're declining an assignment, they don't need to fill out their uh, office hours. So once they fill that out, the next screen, when they click in here, this image will come up on the screen, and they'll use their finger to sign their signature, and then they'll be prompted to enter their name. They can draw, sign with the finger. They'll enter their name. And then this window will appear, and they'll have to click to sign. And then they'll get an email that says you have successfully signed tentative teaching agreement. Copies will be emailed to all parties. And then I will get an email. So I will show you because I just got that a few days ago. So you'll see here this email. I got this email that this peer observation report has been signed and filed. That's complete. And then I get the form here. Here is the electronic signatures with their email address and the dates. And then here's the audit report. So it has all the information when the document was created, when it was sent, when it was viewed. It has the IP address and everything on there. So you have all the information you would need to certify that the signature was valid. I've never had an instance where I've had to refer back to that. So that's Adobe Sign, and you can see how the three tools of Google Forms, Google Sites, and Adobe Sign can work to not create a paperless office, a paperless office rather, but a paperless office. That's all I have for now. I look forward to seeing you to the live demo with the Q&A on Wednesday, October 6th at 12 p.m. We'll run from 12 to 2. And I will show you how to take a document from a paper document into a Google template to a Google form. I'll walk you through the plugin and through Adobe Sign, setting it up and creating a workflow. That's about it. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a lovely day.